Hi guys, so I'm doing another what I eat in a day video just for fun, and I'm also throwing in some meal prep. But the reason I'm doing this little intro in the beginning is that so there's a reason why I'm calling this part 2, and the original what I eat in a day video that I did about a week ago was part 1, is because during that video, if you remember, I was testing out spaghetti sauce to see if I could tolerate it. So if you've been living under a rock, I have basically been doing the carnivore diet just because of issues that I have been having. And my plan has been to slowly add back vegetables and to try to figure out what it is that is causing all of my problems. So I had already did an experiment where I had added back a whole bunch of vegetables at the same time, and that was terrible. So this time I decided to do it very slowly, and at first I was just, so I know I can tolerate ground beef, for example. So I just cooked some ground beef with spaghetti sauce, and that was it. And I was going to eat that for a couple of days, and then I was going to add zucchini to it to see if I could tolerate zucchini, which I was sure that I could tolerate the spaghetti sauce because I've had pizza that I have not had any issues with. So I didn't think I had any problems with tomatoes. But lo and behold, just after eating the ground beef with the spaghetti sauce, my symptoms started to come back with a vengeance, which is the same thing that had happened when I had tried vegetables. It's a whole lot of symptoms, and so you have to go back 2 videos ago to see all of my symptoms. But in this case, the symptoms get worse. They get progressively worse the more days in a row that I eat some offending thing. So in this case, how it started was day 1. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like my intestines were swollen and inflamed. And even when I touch my stomach in the area of where my large intestine is, it felt tender to the touch. And the reason I know exactly where my large intestine is because when I went to the GI specialist and I showed her where the pain is, she's like, yeah, that's where your large intestine is. So like that's what I felt the first day. I felt inflamed. But then I still went ahead and ate the ground beef and tomato and spaghetti sauce the next day. So I still felt, terrible. But then cramping started, and then one of my major symptoms also started up, and that's the symptom of constantly feeling like I'm constipated, but yet having 2 or 3 bowel movements a day. So come on now, all of you VSG people, that is very unusual. Having several bowel movements in a day, that's just crazy. So yeah, having several bowel movements, but yet feeling like I'm constipated all day long is just miserable. So this video is a few days after that. Once I stopped eating the spaghetti sauce, went back to my carnivore diet pretty much faithfully, those symptoms went away. So what you're about to see is just the typical diet of what I have to eat in order to not have any symptoms. And then I did want to tell you that, so July 4th is going to be my 3-year, 6-month surgeversary, and I will finally be doing an update video on that day. So just keep watching and stay tuned for July 4th. Bye. Starting my day with coffee as usual. Okay, so I was feeling really hungry today, so I decided to scramble up 2 eggs, but it's very hard for me to ever finish 2 eggs, especially with 3 pieces of bacon, so we'll see if I can actually eat this or not. Okay, so this is the boil that I'm going to use for my shrimp. So I've put a whole onion in here that you see it's starting to disintegrate, and a whole lemon that I cut into segments, and I squeezed the lemon in. Then I put a bunch of salt in here. I have a couple of bay leaves in here, and then I also did put a few stevia drops in here because I saw that some recipes people add sugar, which I'm not going to add sugar, but I put the stevia in there. So I've only made shrimp cocktail one other time before, and I did something totally different than this, so we are going to see. So basically, after this boils for a little while, I am going to dump my shrimp in. So I have some giant wild-caught shrimp that I just peeled and veined. And so basically what you do is you take it off the heat, and then you just put the shrimp in for a few minutes. And then when that's done, here's my ice all ready that I'm going to dump my shrimp into this ice bath really fast to stop it from cooking. Okay, so this is the finished product. My shrimp is chilling in this ice bath. It looks so delicious. And so this is what I'm going to be having for lunch today. These are kind of big, so I probably will only be able to eat about 4 or 5 of them for my lunch. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use for this cocktail sauce that I just made for my shrimp. So I don't really like spicy things all that much, but I do like my cocktail sauce to have a kick to it. So this is the ketchup that I used, or of course you could just use regular ketchup. This horseradish that I got from Walmart really has a kick. I like my cocktail sauce to have a kick. So this is really good. And then I just put in a little bit of this Worcestershire sauce. So this is something that you really do to taste. I just kept squirting things in here until it tasted the way that I wanted it to taste. Okay, so more meal prepping. If you watched my video, my last video, you saw that I had some salmon patties, and I love them so much that I am making them again. So I like to do, I love the pink salmon, so I got some pink salmon. This is 1/4 cup of crushed pork rinds and a little bit of dill weed. I'm using the Fresh Jack's toasted onion all-purpose spice. I really like this seasoning. So before I was having all of these digestive issues, I used to put a lot of onion in my salmon patties. But sometimes I can't tolerate the onion as well, so I've just started using this toasted onion, and it still tastes really good. Some real salt. I like the Redmond's real salt. And then this is just 1 egg that I've already beaten up. So what I'm going to do is just dump all of this stuff into my bowl, and then I like to use my hands to mix it up. So here's the finished product. So I always divide up 1 can into 6 balls here. I try to make them as even as possible. And then here is my skillet. So I have some avocado oil heating up in here. I have a thin layer of avocado oil because I do like to kind of fry these in that. So what I'm going to do is press this into a patty in my hand and then immediately put it into the skillet, which I can't do with 1 hand. So I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so this is what they're looking like. So of course I put them in and let it cook for a while on one side, flipped it over, and then I pressed it down so I can make sure that it does cook all through the middle. Okay, this is a finished product. These look beautiful except for this one that broke. But yeah, these heat up really well, and they actually freeze well too, because I used to only be able to eat 1 of these at a time, so I used to have to freeze them. What I do is I wrap them in foil and then put them in a freezer bag, and yeah, they just reheat beautifully. So I'm not going to be eating this today because I have something else that I'm going to be having for dinner tonight. This is going to be for the next few days starting tomorrow. But this is my dinner for today.